From Bitcoin, blockchain or distributed ledger technology to cryptocurrencies, tokens and initial coin offerings, it seems everyone involved has something to say, but can you really trust their advice? One man's had enough of weasel words and charlatans and is ready to give you impartial, independent analysis. With digestible blockchain bites, ICO analysis and need-to-know news on cryptocurrencies, author, speaker, transparency and clarity advocate and award-winning software innovator Barry James brings you Radio ICO.
It's me, Barry James, again. We're doing Blockchain Bites for ICO Radio, and I'm pleased to be with Gary Nuttall, who's also from Team Blockchain, and one or two other things as well. Welcome, Gary, and tell us a bit about what you're going to be talking about at the event this evening.
So this evening, the main theme of the event is around ICOs, but I'm talking a little bit wider. I'm actually talking a little bit more about the blockchain technology that underpins ICOs and cryptocurrencies. And I'm going to be discussing what some of the myths are that we commonly hear about technology, what some of the challenges are, and also what the opportunities are as well for people.
So what are the main myths?
There are many. One is where they keep talking about the blockchain, because in actual fact there are many blockchains, there are different protocols, there have been different forks, so different subversions of blockchains as well. So certainly trying to move away from it being the blockchain is a big one. Another one is we still get it where people seem to think that blockchain is all about cryptocurrency. We hear the press keep talking about Bitcoin at the moment, and that generates a lot of news. But it isn't all about Bitcoin, it isn't all about cryptocurrencies. There are many more use cases around identity management, digital ledgers, and smart contracts that come into play as well. So that's certainly a taster of a couple of the myths that we'll be talking about. Yeah,
we're definitely on the same page on some of this stuff, in that we're really keen to help people understand these distinctions. So just unwrap that a bit for us, would you, in terms of what blockchain is as distinct from a cryptocurrency, and what some examples of use and its potential.
Sure. So blockchain, I describe it as two things. One is it's a protocol, and a protocol is simply how we do things, whether it's a social protocol like shaking hands, or whether it's a business protocol like a contract of work, or it's a social protocol of how we interact with each other. So we think of previous protocols that have changed the world in some way. We've got TCP/IP in the 1980s, which nobody really knows what that is anymore, but everyone knows how to use the internet and how it helps you to move data.
We don't care about TCP/IP,
exactly.
But it kind of underpins our whole lives.
Absolutely, and likewise with HTTP, which is another geeky one, which nobody really knows, but they see it in their browser window, and it's what effectively powers the World Wide Web. So with both of those protocols, they've been game-changing. TCP/IP allows us to exchange data, HTTP allows us to present information. Blockchain is just the third protocol in that era, and it allows us to exchange value. But importantly, it allows us to exchange value without a trusted intermediary, and that's a real game-changer.
So first it was data, then it was information, and now it's money.
I describe it as value rather than as money, because it can be things much more than just money. It can be title deeds, ownership of property, ownership of assets, and traceability of goods. So a big area which is taking off from this is provenance of goods, and where you actually trace the history of an item on the blockchain.
Some people I've spoken to recently have said, well, it's been around a long time, there's nothing new here, there's no big change or creative step. What would you say to that?
I completely agree with them. All blockchain is a recombination of existing capabilities. We've had databases for years, we've had distributed systems for years, we've had cryptography for years. What we haven't had is them combined in this unique way to allow us to operate peer-to-peer without an intermediary.
And the double spending problem?
That's just a feature. It's one of the challenges which has been overcome. That comes back to the original purpose of the Bitcoin paper, which was to prevent something being double spent. So we go back to the internet, for example, where you can exchange data, which means you can copy it. You can replicate it. We can do email attachments and that. We don't really want that to happen with our money.
Yeah.
We don't want people to be able to copy it, and that's
really important.
Exactly that.
Yeah. So this disintermediation, we've kind of see its head pop up, in the crowdfunding sphere, and this is kind of a whole new level, though, isn't it? How, would you just try and describe that a bit more, and what does it mean? What are the implications?
So we think of it as the way we do business processes at the moment, where we have value chains in some way, and those value chains invariably involve third parties that act as a trusted third party. So buying and selling a house, for example, where you've got a conveyancer, the conveyancer undertakes an important role, which is to take the money off the seller, off the buyer, and the title deed off the seller, because neither of them trust each other sufficiently to deal directly, but they do trust the conveyancer because they can go away and sue them if it all goes wrong. So using a blockchain to transfer value of the title deed removes the need for that conveyancer. So it's just another form of automation. And automation is automaton, which is replacing human beings with systems. Blockchain is just doing more of that.
And if I'm doing that, let's say we were doing conveyancing and we were using this technology to do that, what am I trusting?
You're trusting that I know, that you know, that I know the values on a ledger. And it's as simple as that. It's because we all trust completely that what is in the ledger is consistent with what we both understand. And that's something that sometimes is a bit of a tongue twister and you need to go away and think about that. But ultimately it's the fact that we accept that what is on the register is consistent between all parties.
Yeah, and this immutable word, verifiable, they come into it, do they?
So immutability is certainly something whereby the blockchain isn't truly immutable. It is tamper resistant, i.e. if a change takes place, it's easily identifiable. So it's the very fact that we can see if something has been tampered has the equivalent of it being immutable because we notice if something has been changed. That's a very powerful thing. So the role of auditors in businesses at the moment could radically change because there's not going to be a need to check if things have been changed or amended because they can't be so easily.
Okay. And what are the implications of this, would you say, for the way that business works, the way the economy works? If we kind of look into the sort of short, medium, and longer term, how do you see that? What's your vision?
So longer term in this world is 2 years. Really, as though things changing so fast. But I always think that we can learn what's going to happen in the future by what's happened in the past. And so if we simply look back at those protocols I mentioned before, and we say, well, what was the world like before the World Wide Web? What was the world like business-wise before the internet? And we're looking at order of magnitude changes going forwards in similar effect to what they had. So the fact that we now have e-commerce, we have websites where we order things, book things, arrange things, and so on. I expect the blockchain protocol will have a similar impact going forward on businesses.
Yeah, someone not a million miles from here suggested that this is moving much faster, than those previous. I remember those previous revolutions being somewhat involved. I remember, being looked at very strangely as if I was being wild-eyed when I said that the internet was going to and the web were going to become mainstream and be the mainstream. Do you think this is happening faster?
Absolutely. With each iteration of technology, its adoption and evolution is happening faster. It's kind of like logarithmic or exponential, and the pace of it is getting faster and faster. So if you think of in previous technologies, aviation. Aviation had the first aeroplane in 1903, but it took until 1960s before we had commercial air transport. So that took about 50, 60 years. In this world, we're talking 5 to 6 years for the full phase adoption of things.
Yeah, so it's much faster, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so looking to kind of the end of towards the end of that, what kind of applications can you how do you think it will look?
So I think I tend to use a quote from Niels Bohr, who was a Nobel laureate, who said that prediction is a very difficult thing to do, particularly if it's about the future. And so I'm kind of a little reluctant to paint a picture of what the future will be, because we always get it wrong. All I do think is that it will be radically changed in some way, whether that be for better or for worse.
And what would be your advice in a changing world to me as a business owner or a business leader in particular? What would be your advice right now?
The two things would be recognise that the world is changing, and so learn to adapt. So the old saying that it's not the strongest who survive, it's the most adaptable who survive, is a very important thing. And the second thing is to get yourself fully aware of what a new and emerging technology is. So come along to events such as the one we're holding today, and learn more about it.
Okay, Gary, thank you for your insights and wisdom, and I know you're going to have a great time tonight. Thank you for your time and your insights.
A pleasure.
Okay, and this is Barry James again with Blockchain Blights for ICO Radio, and again I'm pleased to be with Martin Bartlam, and who is Joint Head of FinTech here at DLA Piper, where we are right now. Welcome, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
So, would you tell us a little bit about how you got into this area, and what it is you do, please?
So, I have been a finance structuring lawyer for something like 30 years now. Most of that time I've spent in looking at developments in the finance world, and over the last 5 years the biggest impacts on the financial sector have really come from developments in technology. The impact of regulation post-financial crisis has had been a big influence on the established businesses, but I believe to a larger extent is the increasing number of new businesses that are coming into the finance space. And so as a result of that, a lot of my work has turned from doing traditional financing work into either assisting new entrants into using new technology into the finance space, or working with the established players as they look at introducing technology into their existing businesses.
Okay, and as a lawyer, some lawyers I've spoken to, you mention Bitcoin or blockchain, not so much blockchain, but ICOs, that you actually see them start running in the other direction. But you're running in this direction, aren't you? How come?
Absolutely. I see the benefits and risks of ICOs and the use of blockchain. I started working with blockchain businesses probably 3 to 4 years ago, and so I've seen the potential impact of blockchain in a wide range of businesses. And generally, I believe it's a positive technology which will be advantageous to a lot of businesses going forward. The use of that blockchain technology in the context of financing, and particularly the delivery of, let me say, digital assets or token coins, I think again can be incredibly powerful because the flexibility, the digitalization of the process allows means that we can offer a form of security or contract in a digital form which is far more powerful, more flexible than the traditional securities and models that we've been working with. Now, in relation to cryptocurrencies, I have mixed views. In that cryptocurrencies have been very interesting in terms of providing a global digital asset. At the same time, there's a recognition that that digital asset doesn't carry any rights or obligations, and so it's really a view as any individual takes as to whether it has value or not. What we are seeing, however, is a maturing of the way the ICO practice will develop. We're seeing larger organizations start to take ICOs more seriously, digitalization of assets and securities more seriously. We will see less new entrants that want to simply raise money and view an ICO as a non-regulated way of raising money. We're seeing more participants who recognize the importance of doing that properly. using appropriate models to comply with regulation, but still access a global marketplace for digital assets. And that's quite exciting, I think, in the way we're seeing the world evolve.
Yeah, and over the time that you've been involved in this, there's been a good deal of change. How would you characterise that, and expansion, I guess, also in terms of the different kind of subject areas?
We've definitely seen change. I mean, more people are now aware, even of the terminology of cryptocurrencies and blockchain, and the acceptance of blockchain. I mean, initially, the reaction to blockchain was that it wouldn't impact my business, their business. There is a recognition, I think, now that blockchain will have a significant influence in a lot of different business areas. Whether that's trading, payment and settlement, supply chain management, claims management, logistics. Blockchain is likely to become a very important technology tool in that space. In the financial world, the acceptance that there has to be some development of efficiency in the space. Competition is coming in. New entrants are providing newer and better ways of doing traditional activities. The existing incumbents will have to modify their practices. They're starting to look at blockchain and similar technologies, AI, as a way of improving their efficiency.
So if I am a business leader or a business owner for that matter, is this going to change the landscape, and what should I be doing right now?
I mean, it will change the landscape in that. Yeah, if I take the analogy of the online approach, so a lot of businesses didn't expect that consumers would ever move to an online buying approach. That if you were a newspaper, if you did newspapers or you did music or you did retail, a few years ago your argument would have been, well, no, people will never give up wanting to turn the pages of a newspaper or hold their record or feel the cloth of the retail product. The realization is that those businesses have changed significantly, and if they haven't got an online strategy, then they're probably going out of business or have gone out of business already. The same, I think, will happen in the context of blockchain. And so if you put the power of online activity, blockchain technology, the development of AI together, whether you're in the finance sector or you're in any other sector, you're going to be impacted by the way these technologies are used in your business. So as a business owner, you have to start looking at what are the technologies that you should be considering, and what are the use cases that you think they would be useful for.
Yeah, it's not an easy subject to get your head around, as we know. We all talk about the rabbit hole, but there's, from what you're saying, the risk of being Napsterized, but there's an opportunity as well. And you referred earlier on to some established businesses who are beginning to see that opportunity. Can you give us a little bit more feel for that?
Yeah. I mean, there are lots of businesses that are already looking at the use of blockchain itself. Obviously, is already being tried and tested in numerous businesses. Whether it's in the finance sector with R3, or the use of payment systems using Ripple, or a whole host of different businesses there. In the token space, you've obviously seen people like Kodak look at models using tokenization, and their share price go up. There's already been commentary around businesses that have kind of moved to put blockchain in their title, and their share price has gone up.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Whether genuinely or artificially, we don't know. Is it a recognition that there's greater value in a business that sees the use of blockchain as a part of its underlying structure? So I mean, so there are definitely, a range of businesses, but big business is starting to look at this as a serious technology tool.
I've never thought of it quite like that, but I suppose if you're going to put the word blockchain, other than as a complete joke, in your name, you'd better be able to answer some questions about it. So maybe it's a signal.
Yeah, it is a signal, and I think there's a lot of there's a recognition now that it's a technology which is here to stay. People are still looking at different ways it can be used, and I think we'll see a lot of proof of concept come through even this year.
Yeah. So as we draw to the end, it's getting busy in here, and there's a buzz beginning to build around the event. So looking into the future, what do you see as the benefits, or indeed disbenefits, this could bring to business and to the world? What would you say?
And I think it will deliver value in terms of efficiency in systems. So, there's a lot of opportunity in things like payment settlement systems, which will be empowered by a quicker processing time. I believe identity recognition is an important part of this. I've commented several times with clients' businesses that you look at the KYC AML process today, the way the banks and other regulated entities have to carry out KYC AML, and the fairly old-fashioned and limited approach to obtaining a copy of your passport, your driving license, and a utility bill, and you've got to question what the depth of quality of that as an approach to KYC AML. You compare that with what blockchain could deliver, with both combining biological data, a thumbprint or a face scan or retinal recognition, combined with documentary evidence of your position with bank details or birth certificate or passport, etc. And that could all be locked into effectively a digital passport, which can, through the use of, say, smart technology, be attached to any finance transaction that you do anywhere in the world. That can give effect to recognizing patterns of trade across the world, behavioral issues, far more powerful in terms of being able to avoid illegal or unethical activities than the current methodologies that we have today. So it's just one example of a way in which it could really change the way businesses operated, speeding it up, making it more efficient and more ethically sound.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So the opposite of some of the scare stories that we see could bring us into a world of greater certainty and safety and verifiability.
Potentially, that's absolutely right.
Thanks again for your insights and wisdom, and I look forward to hearing more this evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Pleasure.
much. So this is Blockchain Bites from ICO Radio, and I'm delighted to be with Gordon Mickel. Gordon, tell us a little bit about what your venture is, and what's happening.
Right, thanks, Barry. So I'm one of the founders of a company called Contract Vault. We're based in Switzerland, in Zug, in Crypto Valley, and it's relatively complicated, but to put it simply, basically what we're doing is making creation or contract creation simple. So it doesn't matter if it's a conventional legal contract or a smart contract that we've probably talked about here before. We make it easier. So it's a platform for making it easier, but also B, offering like this decentralized, democratized marketplace for people to provide content and also access content.
Okay, and where are you in the development cycle and the funding cycle?
Right, so we started the company last summer. The idea was early last year. We started the company last summer. Then we started thinking, okay, so we're going to have a token sale. That's planned for April. Yeah, and so what we've done so far, it was self-funded at first. Then we did some development, some small, talk to lawyers, talk to blockchain experts. Is this interesting? Do you think this is cool? And
Turns out everyone really loved the idea. So we got cracking, started developing it. We're in private alpha now, which means our strategic partners and the people who are actually creating these contracts and these smart contracts are already on the platform, getting that ready, making it. And we're going to have a beta launch for our community members in about a month, so before the token sale. So there will be a product before the token sale, unlike some token sale. Won't name any names. And as to funding, we had a private pre-sale that just ended recently at the end of January, which went relatively well. Yeah.
Is there a place, by the way, that people can go to get whitelisted or in the loop on this?
There's the website's www.contractvault.io. Should find us on Google as well and stuff, or if you check out, maybe you'll have a link later on or something.
Oh, sure.
And there will be a whitelist for the token sale. That will be up a month before the token sale. It's pre-registration and whitelisting is required, and also full KYC.
Okay, that's good to know. So what's great about this? What's great about the concept? What problem does it solve, or what does it make better?
Well, in my eyes, I think if you look at contracts, it sounds like at the beginning everyone's like, oh, contracts and law and stuff, right? But contracts are everywhere, and smart contracts are everywhere. And obviously, I think we're all agreed smart contracts are the future. But so far, if you've looked at some of the products that have been coming out, they've been very kind of like, I want to say, like prototype, proof of concept, niche-y concepts. And what we're doing is we're abstracting this. So we're making it easy. Any of these products you can build on our platform easily. So law firms can offer our platform to their clients. Businesses can just plug into our platform and say, all right, we have, let's say, an insurance company. We have this, I don't know, some insurance for watches or something like that, but we want to do automatic payment fulfillment using smart contracts, but we don't have the know-how. We don't want to, train our employees or pay someone hundreds of thousands of pounds to build this. You'll be able to build it easily on our platform and just plug into it. So we're just making it easier. So the development that's happening, and it's already here, will be easier thanks to our platform.
Okay, so smart contracts made, easier, just more accessible?
We're calling it truly smart contracts.
Okay, great. Okay, and if I was to get out my wallet and get some of the ether and buy some tokens, what can I expect down the line?
Well, the tokens are for accessing the product, the services, and the services on the marketplace. So you would be able to use them to buy contracts, smart contracts, or a mix. We're making this mix of smart contracts and legal contracts called Ricardian contract. You'd be able to access legal services, technical services. So even stuff that isn't on our platform, so notarization or contracts that you can't do digitally, and also things like technical audits for smart contracts, automated, anything that's on the platform.
So usage, and
definitely usage token.
And
yes.
Will I be able to resell the tokens if I don't use them?
We will buy them back from you if you don't want to use them, because you can also earn tokens, which is a very key point in our system. It's supposed to, as it is obviously a marketplace, lawyers, technical experts will be able to put content on the platform and then earn tokens while using them. Users will be able to earn tokens by rating and reviewing other contracts or taking part in, let's say, value-added services from an insurance company or something like that. So tokens will be coming in and tokens will be going out.
So it's a truly multiple-sided marketplace that you're creating here.
Yes.
Okay, sign me up. So send me the contract. And just final question, what is the final thing that you'd like to say to listeners, and please remind us of where we might go to get in the loop.
So www.contractvault.io. I hope that's easy enough, and I'd like to say, just check it out, and there are a lot of super interesting projects coming. So I think it's great, get involved in the space, get informed, and that's that.
Okay, well, do keep us up to date. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And I look forward to seeing Contract Vault bring, this new concept of smart contracts and make it usable by, ordinary mortals.
Truly smart contracts for anyone. Is that what we say?
Gordon, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Barry.
ICO Radio was brought to you by author, speaker, transparency and clarity advocate, and award-winning software innovator Barry James. Get in touch with the programme, put yourself or someone else forward as a guest, visit iconewsdesk.com. And if you've enjoyed the show, please leave a review. And don't forget to subscribe to get your next insights and interviews from the ICO Radio podcast.